And this is the whole state of Connecticut. These are prison board parole hearings. I know you guys always have questions and whatnot. You guys, somebody might be coming in. I just got here. What's going on? What do you mean what's going on? We're doing a job interview.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm Panel Member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Cybulski.
Nancy Turner.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
My name is Jaime Nolasco, and my inmate number is 444179.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jaime Nolasco, number 444179. He is serving a sentence of 6 years with 2 years and 6 months to serve, followed by 3 years of probation for carrying a pistol without a permit and threatening first. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of August 27, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows that since his last hearing, DOC records indicate that he completed voices 2 weeks after his hearing. He has not completed any additional programs. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Mr. Alvarado, tell us why you think you deserve parole, sir.
I think I'm ready because, this time is like a therapy for me. So I'm trying to do the best for my kid. So I'm trying to go home. Even in the bracelets, I just trying to make it to the program, home, and work. It don't matter how long I be with the bracelet on. It don't matter. I just trying to do good for my kids. I never haven't been home yet, so I'm trying to make it the best good possible to be home, so I can support my family. And I could be like, you guys can put me any program, I could do it, be in the bracelets. That's my goal, to go home and survive for my kids.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that information, Mr. Alvarado. This is a rehear for you. You were before the board last August.
Yes.
And they asked you to do a few things. So we will discuss those things. And once we are done asking you our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
Okay,
all right?
Thank you.
Best of luck to you, sir. Mr. Cybulski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
So at the last hearing, they asked that you complete anger management, tier 2, and voices before this hearing. And you did finish voices. You finished the voices program?
Yes, sir.
And you were in the tier 2 program, right? But you.
Yes, sir. It was an issue with the lady with the tier 2 program, that she got kicked out of the program, and then we couldn't complete the program.
Okay. Did they tell you if you're going to start it again?
They never told me nothing. So they just moved me to Osborne, and after that, I can't finish. I can't start it.
Okay. I read through your interview with the parole officer, and she was asking you about guns and the gun that you had. And you talked about how you, that you like guns, and
yeah, I used to, not no more, because I want to be in there for my kids. So I got a lot of history with that. So I don't want to do nothing to do with guns. So she told me I got registered for 5 years. I said it's fine. Okay. I could be registered for 10 years, fine. Like I'm not dealing with guns.
So you don't plan to try to get a gun when you get out? You're not going to try?
No, sir.
And you understand you're on the deadly weapon offender registry, like you said, so you'll have to register and they'll be checking on you to make sure that you don't have guns.
Yes, sir. She explained that to me, and I told her I could be 10 years. See, I moved from different address. I give her my address. I just trying to do good. She told me, oh, you want to go to Hartford House or you want to be in Bristol? I said, my wife, she got her house, so I want to be home. Put me in the Bristol for whole years, it don't matter. I just want to make it from home to work and any program that you guys put me to do.
Okay. Do you understand how serious what you did is? Do you understand how serious that was?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I realized that.
And someone could have died. You know, it didn't appear that you maybe understood the severity of what you did at the beginning. You know, you weren't supposed to have a gun at the first place. You really weren't licensed or any of that. And then you fired it off in a place where there are people around, you know.
I apologize. I regret that. I apologize.
Okay. I'm glad you understand, you know, the dangerousness of that.
Yes.
Let's talk about the disciplinary reports. You had some problems with discipline before the last hearing. And at the hearing, they asked that you not get any more disciplinary reports before this hearing.
Yes, sir.
But you weren't able to do that. You got 3 more reports for discipline.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that that's part of the reason why you didn't finish tier 2, and also you didn't get anger management, because when you have those disciplinary reports, you know, they kind of put you to the back of the line and you're on hold for a little while, because they want to give people that are able to behave and follow the rules opportunities at programs. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you caused some of these problems with you not receiving programs by getting the disciplinary reports. Can you tell us what happened? Let's talk about the fighting. You had a fighting disciplinary report, which is pretty serious, you know, for us.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, the fighting was not even a fight. I had an injury on my leg, so we was playing card, and I sit in the chair, and the guy just pushed me, and then the CEO was there, and then they take me to the box, and they took the guy too, but you know, nobody pressed charges. I didn't, not even swim on him. He just pushed me, so I got a can because I injured my leg on Robinson playing softball, so that was it. It was nothing like punch and nothing. He just pushed me.
And then they swarmed in, they stopped it fast?
Nobody swim. He just did like boom, push me. So in Robinson, the day room is like right next to the bubble. So the seal is just right there. Well, they see it, the guy pushed me. And then, you know, they came. Yeah.
Okay.
But with no swimming, he didn't swim on me. I didn't swim on him.
Okay. So, and then you had a contraband where they found a pipe in your cell, and then you found Pruno, and that Pruno was just in this year, January. So
yeah.
What was going on? Why did you have Pruno in your cell?
I know, but the pipe, it was another issue. I just got to the cell, and then I went to child, they found the pipe. I said, I'm not smoking. I give you my piss test. So I give him my piss test, came out clean, and still take me to the box.
So the pipe wasn't yours?
I'm sorry?
The pipe didn't belong to you? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir. So they take me to the box because they found it like in the bottom piece. I have bottom bone pass. So they found it in the bottom piece, not even in my bed. So they just charged me for it.
Okay. What about the Pruno that they found in January?
Yeah, the Pruno was mine. I told him, yeah, it was mine. It was 3 cups of Pruno. But it's illegal. I understand that.
Well, the bigger thing is that your decision making and thinking, you know, you have a parole hearing coming up, right?
Sir, yes, sir.
I mean, is the Pruno really more important than going home to your family? You know?
No, sir. No, sir.
I mean, that's the problem, so you're not thinking ahead, you know what I mean, about your future, and you're making impulsive decisions that are going to affect what's going to happen to your family, you know?
I know, sir. I apologize.
Yeah, I understand it's just a glass of Pruno, whatever you said, but it's bigger than that because it goes to your decision making and you're not thinking things through. And, you know, something like that. Now, the Pruno, you know, you're not going to get programs. now you have disciplinary reports. I understand your excuses for the other two, but you really don't have that kind of an excuse for the Pruno.
I know, sir.
All right. How do you think you changed since you've been incarcerated? How do you feel different?
I changed because I put my mind not in the street no more. And then I've been writing everything down, what I want to do. So I'm an electricity. So my cousin, I don't got license yet because my boss died when I was in jail. But my cousin, he went to school for electricity, so he got his license. I got all my bus contract, some of my friends, so I can just go out there and tell them, oh, I got a license, my cousin got a license, so they're gonna give me the job, So I just gotta make my schedule with parole. See, I come out on the bracelets or something, to give it the idea what I'm gonna be working at or the program that I'm gonna do.
Well, I understand that you were apprentice electrician with your cousin. I read about that, but I want to know how you feel different since you've been incarcerated before you came in, making bad decisions, shooting a gun until now. Do you feel like you're making better decisions? Do you feel like you've changed?
Yes. I feel like I'm changed because I was speaking with my baby mom and telling her I don't want nothing to do with gun. I don't got, I told her I don't got license yet. I don't want no car because I don't want to drive and then come back to jail for valet probation, me driving without license, stuff like that. I was saying to my baby mom. Even last night we were talking about that.
That's a good start. That's a good start. Thinking about things in the future that could get you in trouble, even minor things like driving without a license, right?
Driving without a license. Yeah, this is the important thing because you could get caught, even somebody hit you.
Yeah.
Then you driving with the kids in your car, and you get a DCA enrolled, and then I've been coming back to jail. So that's the same thing that I put on my mind that I'm not doing it.
That's how you should be thinking. You should have been thinking like that before you had that Pruno, really,
Before I have all my case, I shouldn't think about that.
Yeah.
No?
What about the Voices program? Do you remember taking that?
Yeah, I complete Voices, yeah.
What did you learn? What do you feel like you learned from that?
I learned so you feel something for somebody, you gotta speak, not like react, because when you react, that make you feel angry and make you in trouble. So, you gotta speak, and then you gotta think what you're doing, not like just do it just to do it. You gotta do like a process in your mind. Don't hurt nobody because you hurt somebody, you think you only hurt that person. No, you hurting your family too because you hurt that person, but you come back to jail, so that's being hurting your own family too. So it's certain thing that I learned a lot for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. All right, let's talk about your release plan. What, like, if you get out on parole, where do you think you're gonna live? Like, where are you gonna live at?
Right now I'm living in Waterbury with my baby mom, but I told her I don't want to live in Waterbury. I want to go like to little better town for my kids to go to school. So we was planning that. I said, okay, I'm gonna make it home. Thank God that I make it home, and then when I get my stuff situated, and then we talk to parole, and then I want to move like Torrington, something like for my kids to go to school. Because I always think about my kids. I got 3 kids, so I got 2 daughters. So I don't want to be with my daughter in school. I mean, in Waterbury school, it's kind of a little bit dangerous in Waterbury. So we were planning moving to Danbury or Torrington. Actually, my whole family live in Danbury too, so So I'm just trying to go a little town that could be better for my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you have family support too, like in Danbury, that maybe it can help with your kids and other things.
Yeah, my mom, my sister, my grandpa, my grandma, everybody, my whole family from my mom's side live in Danbury.
Okay, so did they ever talk to you about people, places, and things? Did you ever hear people say that?
No, sir.
So in some of the programs, they'll talk about you know, not being in the same place that you were before when the crimes happened, you know? So all this stuff happened. Yes. So a lot of this stuff happened for you in Waterbury, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So people know you, you're gonna come back into the same environment, could be a problem. You understand that?
Yes, I mean, my wife, she moved to a different apartment, but that was the same thing I was telling her. I don't want to be in Waterbury because a lot of people know me. So me putting my mind straight that I want to go to work and want to do things right for my kids, the best thing that we could do is just get out from Waterbury. It could be any town, but just move from Waterbury, you know? So
Yeah, regardless of what happens today, I would encourage you to stick with that plan. And then when you have an opportunity to move, especially if you can move near your family and you have support, I would, if it was me, that's what I would do. Being in the same environment where all that stuff was going on is not healthy for you, and it's
not healthy for me,
very risky that you'll end up back incarcerated. You know, it's a risky situation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm scared.
All right,
I'm scared to come back to jail, to be honest with you. So that's why I'm trying to like move from Waterbury.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering my questions. That's all I have for today. My colleagues are going to have some questions for you. Okay. And we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You're welcome, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cybulski. So, Mr. Alvarado, well, I appreciate the insight that you've gained during this period of incarceration. You have to see the pattern. And the pattern is that regardless of where you are, you still cannot refrain from getting into trouble. You received outside charges before your new bit, before your first parole hearing, and then you go back, they give you another chance because they feel that you really need some help and you could benefit from parole supervision, and you squander that opportunity as well because of your poor decision making. You can be in the worst place or the good in the best or the best place and still get into trouble because of your decisions. You know, I'm disappointed that you couldn't follow through with the last panel's recommendation, because it really was, given the nature of your crime, which was extremely serious, you put so many people in harm's way. And I was happy to hear you talk about the Voices program, because you're right. Your actions don't just, it's not just you that's affected or impacted by your actions. You talked about your family and your children, but other people's families and other people's children. It goes full circle. So you really need to be focused on making better decisions. So, but I got kind of lost when you were talking about the Voices program, you know, and some of the things that you learned before that, because the Voices program really does focus on the victims and the impact, right? But you said something about
Thinking things through before you react.
Yeah. I'm like, that really, maybe I missed that part when we were being trained on that program, but you need to do that regardless of it. You don't need Voices to tell you that you have to think before you act. You're a grown man, 32 years old.
Yeah.
You know, your crimes are serious, Mr. Alvarado. I mean, all of them involve violence. And then you come in and you try to convey drugs into the prison. You have Pruno, you're fighting, it's just too much. It really is too much, with the exception of that one ticket for the pipe that you say that wasn't yours. All the other ones is you, it's all you. So while I can appreciate your desire to do better for yourself and your children, I don't think that you've demonstrated that since you've been in the facility. And unfortunately, I will not be able to support your discretionary parole because you have not shown us that you're ready to go out into the community and make better decisions And that's based on your disciplinary infractions, sir, and your lack of program participation. So
But
I guess.
I just
Go
want
ahead.
another opportunity. I just want an opportunity, and I can promise I could do any program that you got put me in. Like, I just need opportunity.
You had an opportunity though,
I know,
and you
man.
messed up, not just once or twice. You got 3 different tickets after they specifically told you what they needed you to do.
I
So,
know.
you tied our hands, sir. It's not our fault. It's honestly the earnest fault on you. You did this to yourself. You have to do better. You have to, if you want us to believe in you, you have to believe in you first. It starts with you,
I
Ms.
understand that.
Turner.
I'm concerned for you that you have not been able to complete an addiction services program, especially given that during this period of incarceration, you've used marijuana and Suboxone and Pruno. We don't typically see someone who has violated the rules in all the ways that you have related to addiction. Usually it's a little more varied. And it concerns me that you haven't addressed the issues, the underlying issues behind your abuse of substances such that you'd be in prison continuing to abuse substances and then conveying whatever unauthorized item you were trying to get into the prison. We make this decision, sir, about you finishing this sentence out in the community, and we have to consider public safety. And when I look at your rap sheet and I look at all the charges that were nollied when you were sentenced, and this was 13 months ago, so I can mention weapon in a motor vehicle, illegal discharge of a firearm, illegal transfer of a pistol or revolver, stealing a gun. And those are just the gun-related charges that were nollied when you were sentenced for having a gun without a permit. I want to make sure that you understand, not just that you have the 5 years on the registry that my colleague has already talked to you about, but you are a convicted felon now, sir. You may not possess firearms and ammunition for the rest of your life.
Yes, that's why I made my own tour and said, I don't want nothing to do with guns. I just want to do better. And
It's not even a choice, sir. It's not about whether or not you want to have anything to do with guns. You are prohibited by our state law.
Yes,
Off the table. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So give us a few minutes, Mr. Alvarado, to talk about your case, and then we will give you our decision, okay?
Yeah.
Please don't interrupt. You can listen, though, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sazowskis.
So Mr. Nolasco-Alvarado is here on the read here. Was asked to complete 3 programs and not get any more disciplinary reports. He didn't complete 1 program, although he was already in that, and it was just a short time after the hearing that it completed. He did start the 2nd program, but it looks like because of 3 additional DRs, he was not able to finish that program. It's transferred to another facility, which happens after DRs, and he's not been in any other program. So he's not been able to do the things that the previous panel recommended that he complete before he comes here today. So he's 32 years old now, and he does rate low for risk of recidivism. But the nature and circumstances of this offense make me very concerned because his decision-making while incarcerated has not been good. And, he expresses that he wants to do better, and he wants to be a better person for his family. And I believe he does want to do that.
I do too.
He hasn't provided us with the evidence that we can rely on to make a decision that he's suitable, based on his actions in the facility.
Yeah.
So, regardless, he has 3 years of probation coming up after he's released. And, according to my documents, he'll be in a sentence this year. And if he doesn't do the things that he's saying he's going to do when he's out, working and staying at home, moving out of town. If he doesn't do all those things, he's not going to make it through probation. So he really needs to do what he says when he goes on to probation and follow through, or else he's just going to be right back here if he keeps making poor decisions. So I would encourage him to follow through on the things he said. He has an opportunity, a family member that has worked for him. He has family that live in the state. If I was him, I would move near them and surround himself with family and work and take care of his family and stay away from all this nonsense and make better decisions. But for today, I cannot support discretionary parole for him based on the nature and circumstances of this inadequate evidence of offender change. I mean, I can go on. It's inadequate institutional program participation, poor institutional adjustment.
I have all four of
I
them.
do too.
Mhm.
I do too.
So, I mean, that's how I feel about this. I hope he can follow through on what he says.
I do too. I think that people come before us and they really think that we can like wave this magic wand and, they do tug at our hearts because we do want, to see the best for all of them. But, you have to give us something to work with. And unfortunately, he just hasn't. Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add?
What the previous panel recommended would have prepared him to be successful, and he would have come before us as suitable.
Yes.
And his failures with his behavior and that keeping him out of programming, I don't find him suitable.
So with regard to Jaime Nolasco-Alvarado, 444179, I move that he be denied discretionary parole based on the nature and circumstance of his offense, his inadequate evidence of offender change, his inadequate program participation, and his poor institutional assessment. He will not receive a new hearing date. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Alvarado, we couldn't support your discretionary parole. We stated clearly what our issues and concerns were, sir. We do wish you the best of luck and you'll get this in writing shortly. Okay? Good luck to you, sir.
This concludes the hearing for Jaime Nolasco-Alvarado.
That, sir, you can go back to the unit.
Oh my God. I didn't make that choice. Yeah, this was.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, sir. I'm panel member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Sazowski.
Nancy Turner.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Estevez, 393-875.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for William Estevez, number 393-875. He is serving a sentence of 3 years flat for possession with intent to sell or distribute narcotics. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of April 15, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender completed tier 2. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Estevez, this is your opportunity to express to the board Why do you believe you should be granted parole? You may begin.
I feel like I understand I've made mistakes. Out in the world, I was selling drugs. I was trying to find a way to fend for me and for my family. I know it's not an excuse, but I ran away from DCF, and when I was young, and that's what I know best. Me being in here with the programs that I've been given and applications we have on the tablet, I've gotten to learn about trucking and learning about certain other stuff that I can do besides sell drugs. I don't want to sell drugs. I want to actually be in my kid's life. I always used to say I don't want to be nothing like my father, and reality smacked me in here, showing me that I'm everything like him. So I'm trying to be a better father and be a better self for myself. I've learned in here that I got to be selfish and make sure that I'm good so I can make sure that my kids and my family are good. And like I said, I'm sorry that I made the mistake out there to sell drugs and I was going down the wrong path. But I know that I'm not going to do that now when I go home. When I was here, they didn't have me doing any program at first. So thank you to P.O. Torres. She helped me get into the Tier 2 program and I completed it. So that's all I had to say.
Well, I appreciate that opening statement, Mr. Estevez. Our desires for you as well is to return to your family and be a productive, contributing member of society. But our number one concern is that you will obey the laws. And unfortunately, you haven't been able to do that for a number of years. So I don't think that you have been before the parole board before. So what's going to happen is each of us will take turns to ask you questions. When we're done with those questions, we will deliberate and give you our decision.
No,
You have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
And I will start with your questions. So, Mr. Estevez, a review of your file is very concerning. You were on probation when you committed this crime, and your probation was terminated. Why were you selling drugs on probation?
Like I said, that's the best thing that I knew how to do at the time. I didn't have my ID. I didn't have any type of stuff to say that I am who I am. So I just did what I knew was best for me.
When you were in prison before for the hindering of the prosecution, why didn't you obtain your ID identification then?
I did, but when I was leaving jail, they told me that they had to I had to come back for a person that had to go into the safe or something because they didn't leave my ID and stuff like that. I don't have a car, so I can't just come back and forth however I want. So
did you not have an address where they could have perhaps mailed it to you?
I didn't have an address out here in Connecticut.
And so where were you living then?
For a long time, I was just jumping from house to house, living from friend to friend or family to family.
But it was in Connecticut, is that right?
Yeah.
And where were you born?
I was born in Danbury, Connecticut.
So why couldn't you go to the Danbury, Connecticut town clerk and get your birth certificate, all of that stuff?
Because every time I went to Social Security, they asked me I need my birth certificate. When I go to the city hall, they'd be like, "Oh, you need your Social Security card." So, and a form of ID to prove that you live there. So then I didn't have any of that. So I kept going back and forth between the two, and I just gave up, honestly, and I just started doing whatever I felt like could get me money faster. I was working under the table and I would sell drugs, and I don't have an excuse for any of that. That's what I was doing. And
well, it sounds like you have a lot of excuses. And what's problematic for me is that selling drugs appears to be your go-to. And I really don't understand that, Mr. Estevez, because, you don't even have your high school diploma. You haven't worked towards that. You're out here and you're making babies, and now you're in prison. And I'm just curious to know, like, what is happening to your children? Your girlfriend has been taking care of them?
My children are perfectly fine. They are being taken care of. I be around my children. I just don't. I was just
I
making bad
know that
decisions.
the longest time that you've been out of prison has been 2 years. And your children are 11 and 6, and you don't have any contact with them.
I have contact with them.
When did that change?
When I went home the last time, I got to see my 11-year-old was 9 years old, and I had him come from Florida to stay with me for a couple months, and then me and his mom had a setup for me to be able to be around him. And my 6-year-old now,
I thought that I read that you didn't have any contact with them because the mothers didn't approve of your lifestyle, and they didn't want that in their children's lives.
When I was home, I got to be around my kids. My kids know who I am. I am a great dad to my kids.
How are you a great dad to your children in prison, sir?
Now I'm in prison, yes. When I was home, I was doing everything I had to do as a dad to be there for them.
You're working under the table and selling drugs. That's not doing everything that you're supposed to do as a dad, sir.
To my knowledge, that's all I knew how to do at the time. So I'm sorry if that's not like what I know. That's not the best dad of the year of the book, but I provide for my kids. They had food to eat all the time, and my baby mothers never had any complaints about me from when I came to jail from I left the jail last time.
Of course not. They were benefiting from your illegal criminal activity. You know what I mean? Like, but then you're selling drugs to someone else's daughter, someone else's son, someone else's father, someone's mother. It's just a circle that just continues because of people like yourself. And according to my records, you don't even really have a substance abuse problem yourself. I show that you were popping perks.
I was doing perks. I was sniffing coke. I was doing lean. I was doing a lot of gave a lot of urines to probation and to any probation officer that I ever had can tell you I've had multiple dirty urines for multiple different drugs.
Okay, but that's not what you're saying that you were selling drugs for, sir.
No, I was selling crack cocaine when I was home. I don't do crack.
And you were selling crack because that was all that you knew, is what you're saying. You didn't say I was selling drugs to support my habit. You said I was supporting my children.
I wasn't selling drugs to support my habit. I was selling drugs to support my family, and I had enough money to support my habit also. But that was the wrong choice that I did, and I know my choice that I made was wrong. I know that when I go home now, I have family members that own businesses that are going to help me start working and stuff like that. So I have everything set up for me to be successful when I go home. I won't be on probation. I'll be on parole. I know that it's no different from probation. I know I have to report, and I know everything I would have to do to stay out of trouble. I'm not worried about any of that because I know I'm not going to get in trouble. I know that I'm going to work.
That's very presumptuous. That's a big assumption that you're going to be on parole, because we haven't decided that yet. And I have to be honest, I'm not really sure.
If I get to be on parole,
I don't know what you have shown us to demonstrate that you changed your way of thinking. You just received a disciplinary infraction not even a year ago for trying to get K2 into the prison. Did you think you were going to get away with that?
I'm actually I'm smarter than what I look. If you think that I'm gonna be writing on a tablet so someone can bring me K2 into the prison, that's not that smart. Exactly.
I agree,
so
100%.
Me talking to somebody in the world about K2 and stuff like that doesn't mean that I was necessarily gonna bring in K2 into the jail, because that's not what the text was about.
Well, what was it about?
It was about what K2 was. I was telling them about the jail and how people are making money with K2. I didn't say I was going to bring in K2.
But can you see how that can be misconstrued?
I understood that. And I was going to fight the ticket and everything. But the only reason why I copped out to it, because who's going to want to stay in the box 14 days to fight a ticket? And I was in I was just trying to get out of there as soon as possible, which was 3 days, and then I left out of the box. But I'm a very smart person. I'm not dumb. I'm not
I don't
I
think that
know
you're
not
dumb
to.
at all.
I know I didn't go text. I know it says clear as day on the tablet that you guys can see everything we text and everything we talk about on the phone. So why would I go and text somebody and tell them bring me in K2 or bring me in weed? Like
I understood, but I understood your explanation. You said that you were having a discussion about it and how it, something about that in prison. And I could see how the people monitoring your tablet and your phone call conversations would say that you were trying to convey the drugs into the facility. I didn't say that that means that you were trying to do it, but I could see both sides.
yes, I can see. I understand. I can see where I should have never even been having a conversation about any of that. But,
Exactly. But and unfortunately, Mr. Estevez, this our discussion here today is not to determine whether or not you're intelligent or unintelligent. It's clear that you're a smart person. You've been able to overcome a lot of difficulties or adversities in your history. But until you start putting more thought into your actions, sir, you're going to be right back in prison, and people are going to you're going to continue to have these conversations. It's time for you to put your money where your mouth is and do better instead of saying, I want to do better and not doing better.
no, I'm going to do better. I know I'm going to do better. I don't have any, I can't take failure anymore. And I'm 32 years old. I'm at a point in my life where I need to do better. I need to do better for myself and for my kids.
You do. And why wouldn't you get your education while you've been in prison?
I was getting my education in Bridgeport, get transferred from there, went over to Osborne. I caught it because I had a ticket. I couldn't start school. Then came over here because my ticket still wasn't clear. You have to wait 120 days for a Class A ticket to clear. So I couldn't start school over here too. And then when I do start school, I'm 32 years old. I'm not 20 something or 19. So I'm not a priority for them to be at the GED thing. I had to wait for every other young kid that's in here to start going to school in front of me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just do a program. Let me do something. Programs were giving me the runaround too because I wasn't on their OAP. It wasn't on my OAP. So when I talked to Pio Torres about it, and she asked me what program I wanted to do, I said tier 2, and she got me into tier 2. Like, it's not like I was sitting here not wanting to do nothing. I signed up for jobs, but
but when you get tickets though, sir, that it puts you further back on the list. You're right.
Yes,
you're not a priority. And they base that on the people who are in the prisons doing the right things and doing the things that they're supposed to and following the rules. They make those people a priority. Why would they want someone who wants to what did you get tickets for? I see that you had a brown bag of Pruno for money, and you put a water bottle lid in the door of your cell so that you can walk about. Why would they do that? You're a risk to security, to the safety in the prison. So why would they make you a priority when you haven't made yourself a priority?
Well, they didn't give me in my OAP, they didn't give me any program. So that had
Well,
nothing.
You can't get the programs with the tickets, sir.
I understand that, but what I'm saying, even if I didn't have a ticket, I still can't get into the program unless someone adds the program to my OAP. That was the whole situation that I had going on here because it wasn't on my OAP, so I wasn't a priority to them. It had nothing to do because of my tickets. It was because it wasn't on my OAP. My tickets was stopping me from going to school or getting a job.
Well, right. Those are two things that could have really been helpful for you, though.
Yeah, because I had a job in Bridgeport County, though. I was the tierman there for a lot of the time that I was there. So,
So, Mr. Estevez, can I just give you just a synopsis of what I see in your file? So, you're 32 years old. You come into the prison for being in possession of drugs, with trying to sell them, and you had they were watching you for a while, so they received a warrant to check your car and your cell phone and your apartment, and you were arrested with Priscilla, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then, so you come into the prison, you're already on probation for a robbery third, you rate out extremely high in terms of risk to recidivate. You get 1, 2, 3 disciplinary infractions within I see May, August, and September. You don't take you did take the tier 2 program, but you haven't really focused on any other things because of your disciplinary history, and you've been out in the community under supervision a total of 4 times, and you failed for each one of those. So for us looking at your file, it really is difficult to say that you're suitable for discretionary parole because you haven't demonstrated in any capacity, sir, while either in the community or in the facility that you're capable of following the rules. And in addition to that, you know, you rate out high. So that's concerning for us. I mean, especially given your domestic violence, your history of violence with intimate partners. So that
only happened one time, and it wasn't domestic violence I had in my thing one time, and I learned from that. I never got into any domestic dispute ever again. Like, that was like my first time ever going to jail.
With was it with Priscilla too?
Yeah, but that got taken away because she clearly was.
It wasn't taken away. It was knowledge.
Yeah, it was thrown away.
That's and so are you in a relationship with Priscilla now?
Yes.
So why were you trying to go and stay with Genesis?
Genesis was my friend that we were trying. I was gonna help me go stay there, but she wants more than just a friend, and I can't do that. So I'd rather just go to a halfway house. I don't even want to. I got another place I can parole to, but like I told my family, I think I'm better off going to a halfway house where I'll have people that will help me, you know, get a job. And
well, now you want a halfway house, okay?
Yeah, I don't want to parole. I told Genesis the same thing. I wouldn't want to. You know, I can't take her up to the offer of me paroling there, and then she expects something that I know I'm not going to give to her, and I just don't want to play with her emotions or her head. So
she's under the impression that you already did play with her
the whole time.
And how does Priscilla know that you were going to stay with Genesis?
Yes.
Okay. This is a lot, Mr. Estevez. Let me just see if my colleagues have any additional questions for you. Ms. Turner?
Just with respect to your job plans, Mr. Estevez, you indicated you have a job at a Toyota dealership?
Yeah, I got a friend that works at Toyota dealership. She said she can get me up to work there.
Doing what?
Well, I was thinking about doing sales, you know, being on the floor, talking to people, trying to
what
make them.
What is she offering you a job to do?
That's what we talked about.
And you have no experience in doing that? And it's all commission based?
Actually, I used to work at Victoria's Secret. I used to work at other stores like American Eagle.
Selling clothes versus selling cars are really different talent sets.
It's two different things.
And you have to have a knowledge base of the product that you're selling. I thought maybe you would just be detailing and cleaning cars, but you're actually aspiring to be a salesperson.
Yeah, I think I can do that. I'm
not sure with your criminal record that you'd be able to handle the financial side of car sales transactions. So you'll have to look into that. But the dealership is in Danbury, right?
Yes, and
you want to live in Waterbury?
No, I want to be.
That's where you asked for a halfway house, was Waterbury.
And I picked Waterbury and Hartford for a halfway house.
And you're going to work at a dealership in Danbury? Do you know the distance that we're talking about?
Yes, but that's a plan for when I go home. Now, when I'm talking about if I'm in a halfway house, I'm obviously going to get a job at Trader Joe's or at any other company that would hire me. And then once I'm home, I can, you know, hey, let me see if I can get into, if she can get me into Toyota. If it doesn't work, I know I have family
I
that
can appreciate that would be a long-range plan, but that's not how you represented it to the parole officer when you were interviewed. You said when you're released, a friend has a job at a Toyota dealership in Danbury, guaranteed for him.
Yes. But I'm not, me being a parole, that's if I was to get paroled. But like I said, that I don't want to be paroled to a house. I want to be in a halfway house. So in a halfway house, I know I'll be better. I can save money.
Yes, but you're choosing a halfway house in Waterbury for a job that you have guaranteed in Danbury. It didn't make sense to me, and that's all I was trying to clarify. You had asked him a question about lien. Did he?
You didn't answer. What is lien?
It's cost promethazine, cough syrup and stuff like that.
Cough syrup and what? Soda?
And soda, yeah.
They used to call it scissor when I back in my day.
Yeah, would be soda, juice, whatever you want to mix it with.
You know, just so you know, sir, if we were to grant you parole, we would stipulate that you would not be allowed to have contact with Priscilla. She's both your co-defendant and your victim, your prior victim. So it would be inappropriate for us to allow you to have contact. She was with you while you were selling drugs, and that's concerning. That would be a choice.
I understand that. But that's why I don't want to parole to either Priscilla's house or Genesis. I'd rather go to a halfway house, like I said before, so I can keep working on myself. And I honestly don't even want to be here in Connecticut. I want to move different place and just start all over.
Well, then maybe the best thing is to go out at the end of your sentence next year and be unencumbered by parole or probation, and you can go live in any state you want and start over and not have to bother with anybody. It looks like DOC will consider you for a halfway house next month.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no more questions.
Estevez, Mr. Cybulski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, sir. I just have one question. You know, in your documents, and then today again, you mentioned a difficulty in finding work having to do partly with your identification problem.
Yes.
Well, what's the status of that now? Have you done anything? Do you have an ID?
I have all my paperwork. I did that since I went to Osborne. I got my ID, my birth certificate, my social security card in my file here. So like I said, I'm trying to go to a halfway house and be ready just to jump into working and keep myself busy so I don't get into any trouble. And like, nobody's perfect, bro. I made mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to just talk to you about things you can do now while you're there that, you know, you could be successful when you get out. Like,
yeah, I know
that ID situation hurt you right before, according to you. So those are things that you can take care of, and you have taken care of it.
Yes, I made sure that I take care of that ASAP as soon as I got the chance.
The person that offered you the job at the dealership, were they not willing to provide you with like a document, a letter saying that, you know, that would be helpful, things like that, where we could see on paper, you know? Did you ask him for anything like that?
No, I didn't think I needed any of that. That was my personal plan of me going home. I didn't think I needed any to prove, you know, to show anything like that.
It's good for us. It helps us to understand better if we see a document in the file, whether it's from your sponsor or from a job, somebody that says, you know, I vouch for this person. I'm going to make sure they have a job. I'm going to make sure they have a place to live, whatever you're going to do. So that when we come to the hearing, you know, you're just saying these things. It's hard for us to gauge, you know, how realistic it is, you know? So that's all. Just things to think about for you to work on if you while you're in there, that's all. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, okay. Mr. Estevez, we've heard you say over and over again, you know, about making mistakes. And I'm going to encourage you to reframe how you think about these. These are choices that you've made that have consequences that have brought you to prison. A mistake is like forgetting to return a library book. What you're doing is making a choice to engage in criminal activity, violating the laws of our state, jeopardizing the health and safety of other people. And this is your fifth period of incarceration. So I really hope that you'll be able to turn it around. But don't talk about it as mistakes. These are choices that you've made that you're living the consequences of.
I have a question, Madam Chair, if I can speak, please.
You may, go ahead.
I don't know where y'all come from or what y'all life was bringing up, but I do know that I've been in DCF for my whole entire life when I was from 9 years old until I was 19 years old and I decided to run away, which was also a mistake on my part because I decided to think about somebody else's life before I thought about my own. That's always been my life. I ran away and I didn't have the help. I didn't know how to do a check. I didn't know how to sign for a job. I didn't know how to do none of that. What I did know is what I learned when I was 9 years old, which was sell drugs, beat people up, and do robberies and stuff like that. That's what I did know. And that's not who I am now. It's not who I was when I was just home. I wasn't robbing people. I wasn't beating people up. Yes, I was selling drugs because that's the last resort that I had to come to because I needed to eat myself and I needed to make sure my kids ate also. And I didn't want to be going to court to lose custody of my kids and not being able to see my kids. So I made, when I say make a mistake, yeah, I made a bad choice. I made a bad decision, which to me was a mistake. And I feel like all I need is, yeah, I didn't do good in probation. I didn't do good any other times. But I know that once I go home to a halfway house, if I go home to a halfway house, or if I have to wait 18 more months to go home, no matter what happens in this hearing, I know I'm going to do good no matter what. And I just feel like you're just reading from a paper and you think that that's who I am. I'm not who that is. I came a long way from being raped and beat up by my parents to running away from DCF and being around the wrong crowd of people. I gave my loyalty to the wrong crowd of people that I thought that loved me, that didn't love me. And I've learned how to love myself in here. I learned how to be selfish in here because I used to think that was a bad thing, but that's actually a good thing when you're trying to be a better person. So I know you guys are going to probably make a decision off whatever you guys see on that paper, but I know I'm not the worst inmate in here. I'm not the worst criminal in here. I haven't raped nobody. I never killed nobody. I never picked up a gun to shoot nobody. But I made mistakes, and I take accountability to all my actions. I know I can be a better person. I am a better person, and when I go home, I'm gonna show that not only to whoever is watching me, but to myself and to my kids, because that's all I care about. I don't want my kids to be nothing like me or go down the road that I went. I have brothers and sisters that have that privilege, that finished school, that did everything they need to do and have great jobs now. I didn't have that. I didn't get that chance. That was so. All I asked is before you just read the piece of paper and try to say that's who I am, and that I don't learn from my mistakes or I keep doing these stuff to come back to jail. I came back to jail a matter of the times for technical violations for smoking weed. A lot of the times was all for that, not because I caught a new charge or because I was out there doing dumb shit, like, and excuse my language, but it was a lot of times for technical violations, for me smoking weed or me not going to a program like I was supposed to go. And I was just I was young-minded and I was tired of people telling me what to do and me seeing that, oh, my brother and these people smoke weed. Why can they do it and live a perfect life and I can't do it? That was my state of mind at the time, not seeing that the reason why they could do it is because they're not on probation. I'm on probation and I have to follow guidelines. And I understand if I was to get parole, I'll I'll be on their guidelines too in parole. And I'm okay with that because I know that I'm not going to fail this time. I can't, like I said, can't fail myself. I can't fail my kids. My kids are getting older. My 11-year-old understands. I can have conversations with him where he understands right from wrong. Like, so all I'm asking for is just a chance to go out there and just, even if it's to a halfway house, that's where I really want to go to, either there or a parole house where I can just like go get a job. I have family that are half owner of the lesser evil organic popcorn factory in Danbury, where I can, if I don't get a job at Toyota, I know for a fact I can get a job there. Like, and it's a factory, so it's not like they're not going to hire me. I know they hire a lot of felons there. I know Walmart hires felons. I know the tablet tells me every single place where I can put my charges, and they'll tell me all the jobs that will still hire me. So I know jobs that will still hire me. So I'm not setting myself for failure. Yes, Toyota might be a little, I can't probably be on the floor and I would have to do detailing. But if that's what I have to do, then I would take it because I won't have to sell drugs no more. And I'm not going to sell drugs. Even if I have to be a bum in the streets and go hungry, I would rather do that than come back to jail. I've seen people die in here already twice in the same block that I've been at. And this is not where I want to live at. This is not where I want to be at. This is not my life.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Estevez, but you did start that with, I have a question. Did you ask the question or did you just want to?
I'm not bad. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay. We appreciate that information. And it really does sound as if you have, we've read your file, so we know that you've had a difficult childhood. And I think that we all acknowledge as well that you have, like I thought I said that you have overcome a lot of adversities in your life, sir. It's not that we don't see it. And unfortunately, we can't know you personally. Because if we did, we would have to recuse ourselves from being a part of your hearing. It's our jobs to look at the information that is before us and be able to make decisions based on our discussion with you today and what this piece of paper says. And it's not an easy job to do, but we have to do honestly what we believe is best in light of public safety. And so I hear your desires. I know that you want to do better. And I hear your plea. And I appreciate all that you've said. I appreciate your being vulnerable. I appreciate all your assertions and how you are determined to be a better person. And that makes me happy. It really does. Because ultimately, this is not our lives. It's your life that's at stake here. So if you continue to make the same decisions over and over again, you're going to be right back where you are, and who wants that? Said you saw 2 people in prison die already. There's lots of people who die in prison. There are lots of people your age who have to spend the rest of their lives there. That's not what we want for you. We want you to do what you say. That's what we want. Am I wrong? We really want you to be a better person. And we have to make that decision based on what we read here, not on just what you say, although we do take that into consideration as well. So anyway, give us a few minutes to talk about your case, and we will give you our decision. And we just ask that you not interrupt us, okay? So, I don't even know where to begin. He, as I stated before, rates out as a high risk to recidivate. He has not done well under community supervision. He has not done well in the facility. He's violated every single term of his probation. They've worked with him over and over again to kind of get him to change the way that he thinks. And I really don't see in the system where he's truly had an opportunity to take appropriate programs to help address some of his needs. So, you know, well, he's serving a flat sentence and he has accumulated a number of disciplinary infractions. And I do not believe that he's demonstrated suitability for discretionary parole. I do believe that he has nothing out there. And he sounds like he wants to do better, and perhaps being on discretionary parole would be the opportunity that he needs to go out and finally get one in the positive in terms of supervision. So to be honest with you, I am a little bit torn based on what he's shown us and the fact that he has a flat sentence. And he's received that flat sentence because he hasn't done well before. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Chime in.
I can certainly appreciate that you feel conflicted. That was a very eloquent appeal from him. And yet, as Mr. Szyzowskis pointed out, you know, a level of preparedness to assure us that he has a workable plan. It means we've heard his sponsor change. We've heard his job plans change. You know, I'm happy for him that he's gotten straight with his identification, which will give him, you know, a good start. His GED would have done that too, but his behavior has kept him out of that. I was interested in rehearing him with more programming. I think new thinking could be good for him. But at this point, it's so clear that he wants out that, you know, I think when DOC offers him a halfway house next month, since that's what he's telling us his plan is now, he's gone. So I think perhaps that's the best plan right now. I give him credit. He has changed. You know, I had written down when I read about, you know, he loves himself now. That's a critical first step.
It is.
For changing how you are out in the world. And at 32, it's a good time to make that change. His kids are still at a very young and impressionable age. I know one of them isn't in the state, but as Mr. Szyzowskis points out, the decision-making is concerning. And it's almost like a cycle of self-sabotage.
Right.
And hopefully he can break out of that, but without additional programming. I mean, this is an individual who indicated he was smoking marijuana every day, all day to numb out. So there are issues that he hasn't addressed. And you know, not only was he minimizing his drug use when he answered your questions, but, you know, in looking at his rap sheet, he actually had 2 domestic violence convictions. They were sentenced on the same day, but in 2014 in Bethel, he had strangulation. And in 2015, he had assault third. And those were both domestics in 2 different towns. So, you know, the idea of minimizing and misrepresenting to us is concerning to me. I mean, this should be an exercise of all cards on the table and full honesty. And I'm not sure that we've heard that from Mr. Estevez yet today. In its entirety.
Thank you.
So I would not be granting today.
Thank you. Mr. Szyzowskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with all of what both of you said. I also recognize what Mr. Estevez has said in his appeal, and we can all kind of understand the difficulties he's had to overcome as a child. You know, I also had a note on here about the New Thoughts program. In addition, I have a note here about anger management. You know, it sounds like that there are some underlying anger issues probably related to his childhood that could probably be explored in anger management, and New Thoughts could maybe make him think differently, like he's saying he wants to. You know, I would be open to a reyear in October. I mean, October would leave him a year. If he could manage to get to October without DRs, that would put him over a year without DRs, and then he would be eligible for a year on parole. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with his halfway house with DOC with these tickets. You know, I've seen different things happen. I'm not certain that he's gonna get that opportunity. I don't know. But that's where I would be, as I can't support this today, unfortunately, based on his record, like you both stated, but I would be open to every year in October, with some programming, like new thoughts and anger management.
I think that that is fair, to be honest.
Generous.
Yeah, it is generous. In all actuality, it would also, an October rehear would also give him time to prove that he can refrain from incurring any additional disciplinary infractions. And at best, it would be an opportunity for him to get more tools in his toolbox. It sounds like he is truly on the cusp of changing the way that he thinks. And I think that his participation in the programs and also his putting his money where his mouth is, basically, would also put him in a better situation too.
If he comes back in October with more tickets and can't get through these programs, then I mean, that's gonna be on him, you know? I would also like to see, like we've talked about a couple of times, I know he's saying these things about jobs and about people supporting the community. He can work on getting a better release plan and some kind of documents submitted into our files.
He's already using the tablet to find those jobs, so take the next step.
Get a family member to write a letter of support that they're gonna be your sponsor or they're gonna help you. Someone that's offering you a job, to get a letter in there saying that, you know, we're gonna do our best to help him with a job. Those things mean something, you know, especially with this kind of a record that he has, you know.
Or are we, go ahead.
Can I ask us to look at August or September? September would be 6 months, but I'm looking at an estimated end of sentence date of August 10th
Okay,
of
I'm open to it, yeah.
2026. So that would give, you know, closer to a year of supervision.
Yeah,
So we'll go with September.
is that okay? That's fine with me, you know.
I would do September. I want to see him be able to.
Yep.
So for institutional adjustment and
Put it on probation.
that's what I have, probation, and then we'll rehear him in September 25 with no disciplinary infractions and positive programs. Okay, Mr. Estevez, we're ready with our official decision. With regard to William Estevez, 393875, I move to deny discretionary parole based on his poor institutional adjustment, the 3 disciplinary infractions, and his offense being committed while on probation. I further move that he will be reheard in September of 2025 or reconsidered for discretionary parole at that time. He should not have incurred any additional disciplinary infractions, and he should have completed any positive programs that he can get into, developed a viable release plan, letters of employment. These are all just recommendations prior to that new hearing in September. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Estevez. Honestly, I've had you denied with no new hearing date. So I really do hope that you take this opportunity. It's just 6 months. Do all that you can, sir, to prove to us that you are ready to go out there. It's up to you. You know, you have to make better decisions, and we're trying to give you that opportunity that you asked for. So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
And also look into a fatherhood program. Those are voluntary, but there's 24/7 dads, there's embracing fatherhood, something that's going to help you navigate your children's emotional reaction to you being away and now being back in their lives, because they're going to have a lot of feelings that you're going to have to accept and work through with them.
All right,
Give
thank you.
some skills.
Good luck.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you.
This concludes the hearing for William Estevez.
Hello. Are you guys ready for me? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information and preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm panel member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Nancy Turner.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Andrew Knapp, 405-798.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Andrew Knapp, number 405-798. He is serving a sentence of 34 months flat for violation of probation, underlying risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 20th, 2005. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed. It shows the offender completed the short track sex offender program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative complete offender risk evaluation system, the offender overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low moderate range. Mr. Knapp, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should grant parole. You may begin.
Thank you. So I'd like to say before I began my problem sexual behavior class, I was honestly frustrated. I had to take it again. I felt I had already learned all there was to know, but truth be told, this was the first time I took the class while incarcerated, and it made a huge difference. I had no other obligations and no distractions. I had a clear mind and was in a great state to absorb some essential guidance. I now realize my violation occurred almost exclusively because of lifestyle risk factors I exposed myself to. I put myself into situations where it was too easy to make bad decisions. This class has taught me the importance of a disciplined, structured life so I can avoid these situations altogether. I've also learned some vital communication skills which should help me to build lasting relationships. I've been trying to replace these relationships in my life with promiscuity and drugs, when what I really need is in a partner is intimacy and dependability. I'm hoping that learning to be an active listener and effective communicator will help me build solid relationships. Finally, and most importantly, this class has taught me the true importance of accountability. Going forward, I will strive to take ownership of my mistakes and act with honesty and transparency. With that said, I'd like to take a moment to truly, deeply apologize to my victim, his family, my entire support system, who my actions have hurt beyond measure. I'm asking the board to grant me parole so I can have some guidance in the community upon release. I know I still have some issues to address, and I'm hoping the state will work with me to address these issues before my EOS in approximately 1 year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knapp, for taking the time out to write that statement. We appreciate your apology, and we're happy to see that you were able to complete and get something out of the sex offender treatment. We do have questions that we've prepared today in preparation for your hearing. Each of us will take a turn to ask those questions. When we are done, we will deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Best of luck to you, sir. Ms. Turner will start with questions.
So Mr. Knapp, you ended your opening statement by saying you still have issues to address. What are those issues?
I struggled with drugs in the past, and I've never. So I did do rehab this past year at the App Foundation, which was helpful. But while I was there, I still, I was on an ankle monitor. I still knew that I probably was going, no matter what, I was going to have to go to jail upon completion. So I just had a lot of outside factors on my mind, and it hindered, I think, me being able to give my entire self to the treatment. And, like I said, I have a year left until my EOS, and, in an ideal world, I can't go home because my mom has leukemia right now and she's about to get a bone marrow transplant, so that's out. So I'd like to go to a halfway house and from there either go into a treatment facility for a couple months or go to a sober house where I can try to go to some 12-step meetings and just really try to make peace with my past and learn to replace, whatever drugs or, things that I was trying to use to fill whatever void I have inside me, try to replace that with, a solid foundation. 43 years old, I feel like this is my last chance to make my parents proud. I know that I have a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. All right.
Yeah.
Are you doing 12-step meetings there in the facility?
Honestly, right now I'm not because I feel like,
Okay, that's
all right.
going back to my original question. Are there other issues that you still need to address besides your struggling with drugs?
Yes, I definitely have some issues with PTSD and just a lot of, personality traits that I feel like as much as I appreciate the group classes, I'd like to do some one-on-one therapy. I have worked in the past with a CATSO certified therapist. Her name was Eva. She was at Stamford. I forgot her last name. Sure.
Is there a part of you that's trying to avoid the group dynamic and being accountable to peers and other offenders?
No.
Okay.
No, I
why
would like
one-on-one?
I haven't really, as an adult, had like extensive therapy one-on-one, and I just think it might be helpful. There's nothing,
Okay.
I'm not trying to avoid anything.
You mentioned specific at CATSO. So that's not in lieu of doing problem sexual behavior treatment, correct?
No.
In a group setting, okay.
In addition to.
So, Mr. Knapp, glad that you took track 1. I've read the evaluation and I have a couple questions for you about that. But, where I'm coming from is in 2017, you were seen by the board for discretionary parole release and you were denied.
Yeah.
So you went out end of sentence to your probationary period and now you're back on violating the probation. So it's kind of hard to imagine that we would, once having previously denied you, now grant you discretionary parole. Do you see how that doesn't quite make sense?
I thought that maybe, a lot of time has passed and I'm in a different state in my sentence now. I'm at the back end of my sentence. So when if you guys ask me to take it to the door or however you phrase it, when I get out of here, I won't have any probation. So I thought maybe this would be a different set of circumstances.
Okay. Why do you understand DOC has denied you a halfway house release?
They haven't, no one said anything about that yet. I have been denied.
That is what I read.
I did too.
When was that?
We should also put on the record that on the 19th of March, we received a letter from the state's attorney in the Stamford Norwalk Judicial District objecting to you being released from incarceration or any modification of the conditions of your sentence. So we have the state's attorney weighing in your case. Just want to make sure you understand you have 2 standing criminal protective orders against you. They're full no contact orders through the year 2064. Can you tell me what you understand that means?
I can't have any contact whatsoever with my victims or anything to do with them. And, I've understood that. And I feel like I've definitely adhered to that.
You're not to have any contact through social media or third parties, as well as direct in-person contact.
No, I have never attempted to make any contact whatsoever.
This is me being absolutely certain that you understand the restrictions that are imposed on you by virtue of having a standing criminal protective order against you.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
Okay. So you indicate, or the evaluation of you indicates that you have learned ways to cope with stress. Can you tell me what those are?
Meditation, breathing exercises, sports, and, you know, I've learned a lot of patience and acceptance in jail. Because if you can't learn patience here, you can't learn it anywhere.
The summary refers to your cognitive distortions that you have struggled with. Can you tell me what some of those are?
I guess in the past, I felt like because of some issues that I had when I was younger, and, you know, some things that I myself went through, that I felt maybe I had like a victim complex or something like that. But, you know, as I've gotten older, I've realized that I'm the only person that has any say in what I do with my life. There's no one else that can take accountability for my actions, and there's no one else that can serve my sentence. I am the end all of whatever happens in my life.
Are there other cognitive distortions that you're aware of?
No, ma'am.
That especially put you at risk?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. How about treating kids in your life as peers and not showing the appropriate restraint for the position that you hold in relation to any given child?
All right, so yeah, those were definitely issues that I dealt with in the past. I definitely, I think, related too well to the kids. I was too, you know, available as a peer when I should have kind of held myself to a higher standard. So that's definitely something I dealt with in the past. But I know now that even though, you know, in some ways I was a good teacher, that's not something I can do anymore. I realized that for a while. That's definitely not something I plan on doing in my future. That's not a cognitive distortion I've dealt with for some time now. I have no desire to work anywhere near kids. I just, you know, I would like to do something that, you know, utilizes some skills that I have, but I know that that's one area that I can never go back to.
Can you talk to me about what healthy boundaries look like between adults and children?
Well, so in my circumstance, I can't have anything to do with them, period. You know, I've learned in the class how to just avoid those situations altogether. And ultimately, if something comes down to it where I'm in a situation, then just escape that situation. So because of my past, my boundaries are no contact whatsoever. So that's how I plan on living my life going forward.
So you failed to maintain appropriate boundaries with the children you previously had contact with and then subsequently victimized. Why do you think that was?
I mean, in the past, I definitely had issues with boundaries, like you said, and I had some occupational risk factors. That's something I learned in class where, you know, I chose to work with kids when I deep down, I knew that was bad decision. So
and my question to you is why?
Why was it a bad decision?
No, why did you not maintain healthy boundaries? You were obviously getting something out of being inappropriate, or as you put it, too available to the children that you had under your care.
I guess maybe I struggled with maintaining appropriate relationships with other adults. I tried to kind of replace those relationships. But like I said, that's definitely something that's in my past. I have no plans of trying to work with kids in the future.
So you were having, you were using the contact with children to meet your own emotional needs?
I guess you could say that. Okay.
I'm asking you, is that the case?
I don't want to act, I don't want to seem like you're putting words in my mouth.
That's
I
why
guess
I'm asking.
I never gave this that much thought. I know that it definitely was a bad choice taking that job because of some issues that I struggled with, just my own emotional needs. But like I said, that's not an issue that I currently am dealing with. I have no contact with kids in my life whatsoever.
Well, you're incarcerated. So,
Yeah, I
you
know that.
So I'm going to read to you what's in the evaluation, because
Sure.
apparently you're not as clear as the evaluation portrays it. It says that you noted the emotional need being met through your problematic sexual behavior. In that moment, you were feeling loved, and you use sex as coping skill to manage negative emotions, including anger.
So what that was talking about, I think you kind of took that out of context. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to offend you. I thought with the packet that I filled out, that was talking about sex in general. So sex with adults, that was talking about. In terms of my offense, that was more of I don't think I tried to use that to feel loved or anything like that. It was definitely just a terrible decision I made, and there definitely was that's not true. I'm sorry.
But it kind of fits with your suggestion that you struggle with adult relationships, that, relationships involve, feelings and emotions. So you were replacing that with whatever boundaries you were crossing with the children in your care.
Okay.
Did in any of the programming that you've done so far, was the issue of grooming addressed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Do you identify behaviors that you were engaged in at the time that that constituted grooming?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I read about it from the perspective of the victim's mother.
Mm-hmm.
In the pre-sentence investigation, she was pretty clear about seeing things in hindsight that she didn't pick up on, but were red flags. So when you were interviewed by the parole officer in preparation for today,
yeah,
you made a statement that stood out for me. You said you'd rather be a saint for a year than the next 5 years. What did you mean by that?
I don't recall saying that specifically. I'd rather be a saint for a year than the next 5 years. I think maybe what I was referring to is that the thought of doing a year of parole, because some of the restrictions are a little bit onerous and make it tough to be like a participating member of society. Like I know when I was on probation, we couldn't have smartphones, we couldn't really use email. So it was tough to get some jobs that I was interested in and things like that. But if that's just something that is going to be part of my life for a year, then that's a little bit less daunting than having to deal with that for 5 years. I think that's what I was referring to. Mm-hmm. Because when I got out of jail last time.
You did comment that you were given too many restrictions on probation. It won't be any different on parole. The conditions that I've written down already include device monitoring and restrictions on pornography.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with, pornography or anything like that. That is not at all. I think that's entirely appropriate. I just had trouble with, a lot of jobs now. When you show up for an interview, the first thing they ask you is what's your email. They expect to communicate with you almost exclusively over the internet. So when I couldn't do that on probation, I just found that was the hardest thing that I struggled with.
So you indicated when you were in the short-term sex offender program there in the facility that if you were granted parole, you would have about a year. And you noted that you would just grin and bear it in hopes they have your best interests at heart.
Well, no, so, okay, that again was, I think, kind of taken out of context. So what I meant by that is, I am, no matter, even if I disagree with some of the restrictions placed on me, I know I'm capable of following whatever guidelines I need to follow, jumping through whatever hoops I need to jump through to make my life successful over the next year. I know that that's something that I'm capable of, and it's not as, like I said, it's not as daunting as having to do that over a 5-year period. And yeah, I do hope that parole has my best interests at heart. I've never dealt with parole before. I've only dealt with probation. I'm not sure what the differences are, but you know, I know in the past from talking with people that were incarcerated, some people had parole officers that they thought went the extra mile and really helped them to, you know, reduce recidivism and become a valued member of the community. And if I am granted parole, I hope that that's something I can experience.
You would be under the sex offender management unit. Parole officers have arrest powers, so you violate your conditions and you're brought back to prison. It's not a process of documenting like we have here, all of your failures to report, all of your manipulation around which gym you're working out at, your use of ecstasy, you know, and documenting all of that, and then trying different methods to intervene with you before going before a judge with a warrant to then go out and arrest you. Be a much faster process. So tell me this, Mr. Knapp, you're so very confident that you can manage the 1 year remaining on your sentence and be in compliance. Why were you not doing that when you were on probation?
I think, like I said, I had too many lifestyle risk factors. I was living at my parents' house, and like I said, you know, I don't want this to make this like I'm asking for pity. It has nothing to do with my parole, but my mom was going through a lot of health issues, and so my parents really couldn't worry about me. You know, I'm an adult. I made my own decisions, but I definitely just started hanging out with some friends that weren't great influences, and I put myself in a position where it was possible to reoffend. First year or so I was out.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna stop you there because you were actually actively working against your probation supervision and your problem sexual behavior treatment contract. When they did the residential search of your bedroom, they found a host of inappropriate, disallowed things. And I don't think that was the influence of friends. And then they went ahead and they gave you permission to attend a certain gym between school hours. And you took it upon yourself to go to another location. And the Greenwich Police Department received complaints from the staff at the gym because the children were telling them that a creepy man was watching them. So far, I have acted with your.
I missed the last 2 minutes that you just said. You guys were frozen on the screen.
What I was saying to you, sir, is that you were actively working against both your supervision and your treatment when you were out on probation. And, you know, none of that seems to be the influence of friends, except maybe the drug use, or your parents, you know, having their focus on your mom and her health issues. Yeah. So, you know, these are choices that you were making, fully aware of the contracts that you signed for probation and problem sexual behavior treatment, and you were sabotaging your own progress.
Yeah,
And
no, and
so
I
you
take
said-
accountability for that. I do take accountability for that.
But you're sitting here absolutely confident that you can white knuckle it through 1 year of parole successfully.
I'm not asking to white knuckle. I don't want that to be your thought. I do want to utilize whatever help I can get on the outside. And, you know, while I've been in here, I don't have any DRs. I have no problems with the staff. I've just kept my head down and focused on getting through this time. And I think I'm at a stage in my maturity that I can handle that on the outside as well.
I'm concerned for you because you do have addiction services on your OAP, and you were actively abusing substances while on supervision. And, you know, that's going to interfere with your ability to avoid the cognitive distortions and some of the other contributing factors in this case. So
I've been entirely sober now for the entire period that I'm incarcerated, and I'd like to continue that on the outside. I'm not saying that I don't have these issues. I'm admitting to these issues, and I'm asking for help.
all right, Madam Chair, I don't have any more questions for Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Mr. Szyszowskis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, sir.
Hi.
So my colleague has asked almost all of the questions that I had. You know, I'm also concerned about the addiction services part of this. Have they ever offered you the program? You have it on your OAP, but you haven't.
No. I took it my last sentence. This jail that I'm, you know, MacDougall right now, it takes a lot longer to get into programs here. When I was in Cheshire, I did tier 2 when I was there. I did commercial cleaning. I did carpentry. I was a tutor. There, if you wrote and asked for a job or be in a program, you were placed in a program within a week or two. Here, if you have under a year at this facility, it's very, very hard to get into programs. The problem sexual behavior they got me into, because I know it was on my OAP, but I've asked to be in tier 2. I've asked to be in voices, and they both told me that they said I was on a waiting list. That's all. I've heard that about a job. I've heard that about other programs. So that's something that I definitely would be, you know, eager to do in the community if I am granted release.
Have you ever been in AA in the community? Have you had a period of sober time in the community?
Yeah, so I lived in a sober house in East Haven right before I came into jail. And while I was there, we had 12-step programs in the house, and we would occasionally go out to 12-step programs in the community. I was going to 3 or 4 a week on average. So it is something I've done in the past, and it's something I definitely am interested in doing upon release.
Yeah, we're talking about cognitive distortions and making decisions, and entering substance abuse into all of this is just, you know, making it much worse for you, you know. So it definitely is an area that has to be addressed for me to feel comfortable with all of this. I wish you would have been able to take a program before you came before us today, you know.
Okay.
So, all right, that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to ask Officer Torres, can you look up, so I'm looking at the DIS from his last period of incarceration. Granted, it was June of 2017. It indicated he hadn't done any programs. He went out to probation in October of 2020. Did he do tier 2 between 2017 and 2020? Can you find that?
I actually did that. I did it in Brooklyn, I think, actually.
It says in this DIS, in today's under.
I had it up.
It does say during his previous incarceration, he completed tier 2 in 2018.
Okay.
It's in the current DIS.
Yep. 2018.
But I mean, he's had substance abuse problems after that.
Mm-hmm.
I also was in residential rehab in 2024, and that's something that I'm interested in pursuing after my release.
Okay. So Mr. Knapp, our question and answer period is over now. We're going to deliberate about your case and give you our decision. Please don't interrupt. You can listen. Please do not interrupt. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Turner?
So as I've pointed out, Mr. Knapp was unsuccessful in a variety of ways while he was on probation for the underlying crime in which a child was victimized sexually. He has, since coming back to prison on the VOP, participated and completed track 1, seems to have some new understandings. I know that the evaluation looking at it 2017 problem sexual behavior treatment evaluation. You know, he appeared to violate in ways that undermined his participation in problem sexual behavior treatment in the community. He appears to have some new insights to work with. And an interest in additional treatment and therapy, which I think is very much needed, and you know, something that I hope he has the resources for. I will not be voting him to discretionary parole today. The poor performance on community release, the nature and circumstance of the offense, and I just, I'm not quite there finding him suitable for discretionary parole. And as I pointed out, he was denied before going out to probation, which he has subsequently violated. So I'm going to say no, and again, acknowledge the input from the state's attorney objecting.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Mr. Cybulski?
I agree.
So do I. I have inadequate program participation. We talked at length about his substance abuse issue and his lack of treatment there in the facility. I do hear that he completed the treatment when he was out in the community, and he has maintained his sobriety, but there are other programs. He could have used a refresher course because
well, he's not even doing 12-step meetings.
so I had that as a condition, as a reason for denial. And I'm sorry, I started to write down what you were saying, Ms. Turner.
Poor performance on community release.
Poor performance on community release. Anything else?
I mean, the underlying nature and circumstance of the offense is quite disturbing. And I'll cite in the written decision the state's attorney's opposition.
Thank you. So we're ready with our official decision. So with regard to Andrew Knapp, 405798, I move to deny discretionary parole based on his poor performance on community supervision, the nature and circumstance of his underlying offense, and his inadequate program participation. He will not receive a new hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there something you wanted to add? No?
No.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Knapp, you will receive all of this in writing, sir. We could not support your discretionary parole today. We do wish you the best.
No, you don't. So you
Thank
want
you.
me to just finish my sentence all the way? So when I get out, I'll have no supervision, I'll have no support from the state, none of that, correct?
That is our decision for you to EOS. Yes.
All right, and do you have in writing that I was denied a halfway house also? Because I haven't heard anything about that.
I would talk to whoever your counselor is there in the facility to obtain a copy of that.
Mrs. Walker, I think it was, the lady closest to me. said something about that, and I haven't
Well,
received that in
before-
writing.
Okay. It says that, Officer Lanier reviewed your case on March 10th, 2025, and did not, and denied your community release. So again, that's something that you need to speak with someone in the facility about, and her name is not Walker, her name is Turner.
This is Ms. Turner right here?
That is Miss Turner.
And you're Ms. Walker?
I'm not Miss Walker. I'm not sure who Miss Walker, you're
Oh, it says
referring to our,
It says Janet Walker up on the screen.
that's our psychologist here at the board. So she's watching our hearings.
Why did you guys move my hearing up a month and then deny me?
Mr. Knapp, listen, it's over and done with. You've been
Yeah, no, I
denied,
understand
sir.
that.
Good luck. Thank you. We have another person to see. Thank you.
Yeah.
This concludes the hearing for Andrew Knapp.
You guys are terrible. Handle in court. Ugh.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. If all the board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have viewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm panel member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Nancy Turner.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Matthew Frazier, inmate number 396326.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Matthew Frazier, number 396326. He is serving a sentence of 4 years flat for 3 counts of violation of probation for underlying sex assault second and criminal violation of a restraining order. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 20th, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender completed Embracing Fatherhood, Short Track Sex Offender Program, and Tier 2. He has also been involved in the Yale prison education courses. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the moderate high range. Mr. Frazier, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
All right, thank you. So I believe parole is a privilege, and it's a privilege that I've been trying to earn since I've come in here. I came into this facility 18 months ago. In that time frame, like just stated, I took the sex offender program here. I've been part of the Embracing Fatherhood program. I have 2 sons, Trenton, age 4, and Landon, age 2. I also have taken Tier 2 to deal with my addiction. I have been actively participating in AA since September of 2023. I also have been in the Yale Prison Education Initiative, which is college classes through Yale
in the University of New Haven. I have 2 semesters down in the paperwork that you guys have. I showed that my first semester I had 4.0s in the 2 classes that I could take during the summer. And then in the fall, I hadn't got my grades back yet, but for the fall semester, I took 3 classes and I got 3 4.0s as well. So over 2 semesters and 5 classes, I retained a 4.0 grade point average. The classes that you guys don't have information for was an intro to architecture, principles of communications, and then the last one was Great Books of the Humanities, Human Nature, which was a philosophy class. And I just wanted to briefly read what the teacher said there, because I think it speaks to how I've been doing in the program as a whole. He said, Matthew Frazier was an excellent student in great books. He prepared carefully for each class, did all his readings and weekly responses were thoughtful. His first paper featured fine discussions of awe-inspiring moments in human nature and Sophocles' Antigones, which is a Greek tragedy. His final paper was outstanding, staging a well-organized, insightful conversation between Shakespeare and Rousseau on the harm of society and its unnatural inequality does to human beings. He was respectful and collaborative contribution to the discussions, always bringing his best self to every class. And also currently, I'm still in the program. This semester, I figured that I could take 4 classes and, push what I was able to do. And so far, I have 4.0s at least halfway through at the midterms of these classes. And they include ethics, experiments in survival, eugenics, and then the last class is diversity and social justice. On top of doing the Yale Prison Initiative program, I'm also in culinary at the same time. So not only am I also going to college, but I'm also getting on the job or skills that I can use on the job for the type of job that I had when I was out there working at 2 different restaurants before I was incarcerated. And last but not least, I've also been helped with mental health. When I came in here, I realized that I needed help to make sure that my family had a better life than what I was providing them before I came in here. And so for the first time in my life, I asked for help. And I asked mental health to see me. They've been actively working with me, telling me that, I've been doing good with addiction services. They prescribed me antidepressants. And they check up on me once a month to see how I'm doing. And that has made a significant difference in my outlook on life.
Good. Okay, Mr. Frazier, we appreciate all the information that you've provided. We have some questions after reviewing your file. Each of us will take turns to ask those questions, and when we're done, we'll deliberate and give you our decision. Okay, and Mr. Cybulski, we'll start with the questions.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for that opening statement. You answered some of the questions I had about your schooling. Why did you have so much trouble on probation? I mean, that's what this is about. You've never successfully completed probation in the past 3 different times, and each time you keep failing. Can you talk about have you identified what the problem is?
Yeah, it was my negative outlook, pessimistic outlook on myself, my abilities, my substance use issues that I had. I figured that I didn't need any help from anyone. That, I've always been the type of man that tries to do everything himself. I've tried to think that I can be a user, and because I can functionally go to work, I can pay my bills, that's a way that is acceptable to life. My father told me, if you're going to do something, everything needs to be in moderation. Well, that's one thing I never listened to him on, especially with my substance use, was moderation. And I realized this isn't the way that I need my family to go through. I have 2 young sons that are still in diapers that need somebody that can provide for them and be stable. Using drugs, even if I'm functional, isn't functional. It's an unmanageable life, I've realized. And I've taken the time to try to actively work with that. AA has been the biggest help for me in realizing that I'm not alone in this, that other people have gone through it. Working with mental health and being on antidepressants was something that I always thought wasn't for me. And I realized that it doesn't change the person that I am. It makes me have the little bit of help that I needed to be able to become the better person, to be able to go back to school, to be able to reach my potential and not feel like I need to use drugs. My whole issue with probation has been that I'm trying to complete probation while I'm trying to use drugs, and obviously that doesn't work. And it made me make very poor decisions when it came to probation.
Okay, so did you take a tier program previously before this incarceration and another incarceration?
No, I've never taken any drug programs except through probation when I was out on probation. I've never taken anything in DOC.
So you think that this tier program has helped you?
Yeah, I believe that it helped me identify some of the triggers that I have, some of the warning signs that I have, and then AA, I was able to bring up some of the discussions there and continue to work with AA because Tier 2 isn't quite too long of a program. AA I've been going to since before Tier 2 and since after as well. And so that's how I've been staying active with my recovery beyond just the program is through AA as well.
You know where the AA meetings are held in the area where you want to live?
Yeah, so I know for a fact that before I came in, I was trying to attend some. I knew that I needed help, and so I started looking them up, and there is an AA meeting in Stafford, the town that I was living in, which is one town over from when I'm paroling. It's at Sun Valley, and if I actually remember correctly, it's either Saturday or Sunday morning. And then I also know of one that I did attend that is on every Wednesday at the Methodist Church in Ellington, which is on Route 140. I don't know of any in Somers itself, but I do actively know of at least two that I, went to one and at least knew of the other one.
Okay, good. Do you have a sponsor on the outside, or is that something you plan to try to do?
Yeah, so I would like to have a sponsor. I talk with the individual that does our meetings here is Dave. And so he said that when I get out there, if you show up at a meeting and say, I just got out of incarceration, I need somebody to help, the type of program it is everybody's going to help. He said that from here, he could get in trouble for helping us get a sponsor or for sponsoring us as himself. He would have to end his prison commitment here.
I understand that. Okay. All right. Thank you for answering those. You took the sex offender treatment program, you said, during this incarceration, right? How has that helped you?
It's reinforced what I've learned through the connections. I had taken the connections the whole time that I've been on probation. It was I haven't been part of it because I was on violation status. So it was a refresher of some of the key issues that I had faced back during my offense, which was, cognitive distortion, having poor problem solving, which I, obviously still had on probation, at least in regards to substance use. It helped me, realize that the mistakes that I made back then didn't define me as a person. It made me be able to be a better person because I was able to deal with what I did wrong and be able to see what I did wrong and know that that wasn't the way to view things back then. I was I thought I was above the law back then, and that wasn't the case.
Okay. There's a note here. It said when I was reading through your interview with the parole officer and some of the other documents, it says that you were dating someone underage and didn't know it at first, and then you found out and continued.
Yes, that is true.
How old were you? How old were you when this started?
When I started, I was 21. It lasted for about 4 months.
You were not able at 21 years old to tell that the person was 15 years old, not old enough to, not your age?
That was part of the cognitive distortion. She was not attending high school, and it's plainly put, cognitive distortion. I wanted to believe what I wanted to believe.
Yeah.
I wanted to think what I wanted to think. And, like I said, is that once I found out it was one of those things that I said, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm okay because we've been together, and that's, part of, the issue that I had is even when I could have made the right choice back then, I still decided to do whatever Matt wanted to do, and that was not the right way to think.
And at some point you found out, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you did, like you said in your statement, you continued.
Yes, I did.
Okay. From reading through the documents, there appears to have been some violence involved, according to what I read, involved in that situation. And, you have anger management on your OAP. Have you had an opportunity to take that?
They have just added it to my OAP. When I took my last review, which was, sorry, just 1 second. So my last review was on, apologize, I have so many from Yale in here. My last review was on 10/1/24, and I've written to them. I have a couple of requests here about taking anger management, and they just say that I'm on the waiting list for it.
Okay.
Back when I was younger, sorry.
No, I want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Back when I was younger, I know that I had an anger problem, not specifically pertaining to the case, but just in general. I had a very negative outlook, and before any of this incarceration, I learned to deal with that, and to accept the things that I can, and that I can change, that I can do. I've learned to not get so mad at everything, and for at least the past 10 years, I've not had any issues with anger. I actually found out through my ethics class that it's called Stoic. Is actually the kind of philosophy that I took. And so my next paper in there is going to be on Stoic, because he gave us a book to choose from, 3 books, and that was one of them. And when I read it, I realized that's the approach that I taught myself, to not be so angry at everything, and it's greatly helped me. So I'm very interested in taking that paper.
Yeah. And do you think that you could learn some tools from taking that anger management class? I'm always up for learning new techniques, new ways to deal with things. That's, what I approach my college on. Yeah. That's why I try to get into all the programs, because as human beings, we can always learn something new, even if we don't think that we can. Okay. Let's talk about, how do you think your actions have affected the victim long term? How do you feel like they've been affected by what happened?
So when I was in a relationship with her, it was objectifiable. It was based upon sex. It wasn't based upon actual, real caring for each other. I negatively impacted how men view women. I may have impacted her negatively on how she views herself. I've realized that my actions as an adult can greatly influence other people, especially people that are underage, that are susceptible to, still developing mentally. That she may be, somebody that doesn't view herself the same because of the actions that I took, that she may only view herself as, what am I trying to say? Physical is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that's the best word, but that there's many different ways that you can mentally change somebody's worldview, and how to view themselves, how to view the world, and how to take interactions in future relationships that they may or may not have. And I realized that before this incarceration, through the connections, we talked quite a bit about that when I did my autobiography with them.
Okay, yeah, those are the kinds of things that they teach in the Voices program. You have that on your OAP also. Have you heard anything about taking that?
I have at least 6 or 7 requests here in 18 months. They say that because I'm too far from my EOS, to get into the program. And so they said I'm on a waiting list until I get closer to EOS or until parole makes that a mandatory thing.
Yeah, okay. And then you had troubles with the sex offender registry too, you know, I read. I mean, why would you have so much trouble with that? It doesn't, you know, it's just a reporting situation. What was going on?
So I take full responsibility for that. I did not realize that I needed to send the first letter. So if I had not sent the first letter in enough time, when I would get the second letter, I would send that and never send the first one. And I greatly made a mistake not realizing that any letter I ever sent, I should have just sent back. And I made the poor assumption to only send the most recent letter, not any letter that I had. And so that's how I have so many violations over so many years, is from not sending that first letter to them, but only sending the next letter if I had missed the timing.
Do you think drugs, you know, play a role and you're not paying attention to detail?
Absolutely. And then there'd be times that during that I would get the letter and then I would forget about it because, you know, I was too high. Drugs absolutely played a role in not prioritizing things and also not going about my life in a manner that was timely, in a manner that, like, I was always late to work and stuff like that. You know, I would show up to work, but I was late. And that's what I was meaning by I was functional, but I wasn't having a manageable life. And that was the distortion that I had with my drug use, is that I thought because I'm paying my bills, because, you know, I'm just hovering in probation, I'm not excelling, I'm just hovering, that I'm getting by. And getting by isn't a way to go through life. That's not a way to go through life. And that's what I was doing for so many years.
Do you know when your sex offender registry ends? Are you aware of when that is, the date?
Not the exact date. I do know that I have 2 years or so left on it, from what I remember from going to court. I do not know exactly if it's under 2 years or over 2 years, but it's about that amount of time.
Yeah, I have a sooner date records, but I was just curious if you understand.
Yes,
when
I do.
When that would end. All right. So you were in the problem sexual behavior program out in the community, and yes, same thing with the probation, with the sex offender registry. You've had trouble completing it and going and everything else. Did you ever finish that, or you were violated before you?
Are you asking for the connections program?
Yeah.
Did I complete that? So I have not completed that yet. I have gone all the way until my treatment goal 6, which is the final thing before completing. And the only reason I did not complete is because I was in violation status when COVID happened. And before that, they said that until you get off violation status, they didn't feel right with me finishing my treatment goal 6 to be discontinued from the program, or graduate the program is a better word, until I became active again in probation.
So I mean, it's just a lot. You have, you know, 3 violations of probation, and you have never completed probation successfully.
This is his 4th violation.
4th now, yeah. And so you had a problem with the sex offender registry. You were on probation when this happened. You couldn't complete the sex offender program in the community. You just see all these things start piling up when we're looking at parole and how suitable you might be for success. You know, I do appreciate all the programs that you've done in this educational program, the culinary, everything you're trying to reach out. I hear in your voice, you know, that you want to do better and you're trying to get past all of this. Can you just, you talked about the Yale program. So you're registered through May? Is that what you're registered through right now?
Yes, that's the end of the spring semester.
And then if you're still incarcerated, you intend to take classes over the summer?
I can take classes until I am released, yeah.
What's your plan? I know you have a lot of other stuff to deal with and everything, but do you have a plan for education, you know, after? Because you may not complete it while you're incarcerated.
I have a plan for not only education, but also for employment and that kind of stuff. I have a long-term and a short-term plan if you wanted to hear it.
Well, just tell me about education right now. You're taking classes with Yale and University of New Haven. Sounds like a partnership between them with the prison system. And is there a plan with them for you to continue with them, or do you have to finish somewhere else if you're outside?
So the plan as it stands right now, if I am granted parole, what will happen is I'll be able to finish up any classes I have through the program that I'm in right now. On the outside, I can complete these classes. Then for the summertime, they're going to help me transition to either Manchester Community College or as Nantucket Community College, which I can do online or in person. And the reason why I would be transferring to them and not going to continue with Yale is because obviously Yale is very expensive.
Yeah.
And they have a program called a scholarship, I should call it, the Eli Whitney Scholarship. And so what it is you have 2 referrals, you take multiple prompts for them, you do an interview with them, and they give you a full scholarship to Yale. And not only do they give you a full scholarship, but they also pay you $9,000 a semester, so that way you don't have to work and you can be a full-time student. And the deadline for that ended on March 20th to apply for it. So I have to wait until next year to apply for it. But with taking classes, I can get recommendations from Yale professors. I have perfect grade point average. I'm already scholarship eligible for just general academia. So like if I wanted to go to UConn, I have $30,000 based upon my grade point averages being over 3.7 that I can get into UConn with, along with the Pell would make it about $3,700 or sorry, $37,000 that I would have towards UConn's tuition. So my options are very open, even if I didn't get the Eli Whitney.
All right, so I hear that you have a plan to continue your education. You sound serious about it. You put some work in it.
Yeah, I want to become a statistician.
Okay. Good. It sounds like your thinking is clear, about the future. Now, I read some information that you have a short-term plan of going back to work at a restaurant that you previously worked at. Is that true?
Yes, and so that's why it was great that culinary started up when I came in here, because I was working actually 2 restaurants. When I came in for the same owner, I was working 12, up to 16-hour days to try to support my family. And I had no idea what I was doing in the kitchen, honestly. I had only ever managed Dunkin' Donuts. I was a store manager for Dunkin' Donuts, which is nothing like cooking actual food. And so I learned immensely in this culinary program. And now when I actually go back to that job, I have complete confidence in myself, which I didn't have before, and what I know and what I didn't know back then. My fiance is friends, or my fiance's father is friends with the owner. That's how I got the job. And the gentleman's just waiting for me to come back and show up at his door to start working again.
Okay. Sometimes people will submit a document to us that says that, we're going to offer him this opportunity when he's released from incarceration, if everything goes as planned. Did you get anything in writing from them?
No, but obviously I don't have it today, but I could get that easily.
Okay. That sometimes it's helpful for us, just besides you saying it, to have something from someone else that shows that there are people willing to help you and give you a chance to work, I can also tell you that the 2 restaurants are Ellington Pizza, and the other one is Benny's Banquet, which is in Vernon. The other one, obviously, Ellington. And the owner of those restaurants also owns the Hilltop in Wellington. And if you call that restaurant the Hilltop, he's there all the time. He'll take a call from you guys. Well, so that's for you to get the information provided to us. So,
okay, sir.
Might be something that you might be able to work on later. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Those are all the questions I have for you today, sir. I'm going to pass on to my colleagues and see what they might want to ask you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. That was good. Ms. Turner?
So I read the evaluation of your participation in the short-term group. You finished that in January of last year. And then in May, you had another evaluation by the connection where the same organization you had been in treatment with. And a couple of things stood out for me. You continue to assert that the sexual contact with the victim was consensual.
Yes, so when I was originally charged, I was only charged with second-degree sexual assault. I didn't plead down to that.
Only?
Not, well, compared to what you're saying, which would be first-degree sexual assault. Also, I've taken a polygraph with the connections that asked me, not only in my case, but ever in my life, have I used coercion,
Okay.
Force, or anything like that? I answered no, and I had passed that question.
Okay. But you do realize that the victim's account of what happened to her, what you did to her, varies greatly. When she declined in the car to have sexual relations with you, you forcibly restrained her and choked her while undressing her, and then penetrated her. When you were asked by the connection about the crime, you said, we were dating, I did it, she was under 15, it was consensual. She was just mad that I broke up with her. That doesn't even fit the narrative of what went down in this relationship with the victim. I mean, it was really hard to read that she became suicidal, was using marijuana with you, and the day she came home from treatment for her mental health, you picked her up and she snuck out of the house, and some of this continued. So you completed treatment inside, you did some on the outside, and in the evaluation, you were asked to define consent. Can you tell me what your definition of consent is?
Yeah, so my definition of consent is somebody that is over the age of 18, is willing to say yes. They're not showing a different, it's not even vocalized, it's also body language, because somebody can say yes, but their body can say otherwise. And so through the connections, they've taught us those types of cues, that body language is one of the most important things to visualize, because somebody can feel pressured to give consent and they're saying yes, but they're timid. They're shaking or anything like that. That's not somebody that's willingly giving consent. That's somebody that feels that they need to be able to say yes, even though they want to say no. Consent is a full action. It's not just the vocal words.
Is consent something that either partner can retract while engaging in intimacy?
Absolutely. And previous intimacy can also, not mean further intimacy. I remember specifically in the connections talking about the case in California where somebody had slept with somebody else and then woke them up with sex when that person didn't want it and they were going on trial for that. You can't consent if you're not awake. And that was the problem.
And like you're saying, one instance of consent does not mean that you have consented to all contact of a sexual nature going forward.
Absolutely. And currently
Mr. Frazier, in the evaluation from last May, you told the connection that you know when someone wants to have sex, you said, I know when it's my girlfriend.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So what I mean by that is I'm in a committed relationship with the mother of my 2 children. We've been together for over 5 years now, and I know
But
her
you
body
considered
language,
the
right?
victim in this case your girlfriend at the time, didn't you?
I'm sorry, what time frame are you asking? When I was with the victim when I was 21 years old, I did consider her my girlfriend at that time.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So it seemed like you were carrying on that cognitive distortion that consent to sex once means that it's a foregone conclusion. You said you expected that you could have regular sexual intercourse with the victim because you were dating her.
Yeah, and that absolutely was a cognitive distortion that I had back then. I didn't have.
I just don't understand why your answer in May of last year about consent, when you know someone wants to have sex with you, wasn't more nuanced, that it wasn't recognizing that, I mean, somebody could be your girlfriend for months before you have intimacy.
So
and
I think
it doesn't give you any rights to sexual gratification or sexual contact.
I think what I was trying to say there, and I didn't vocalize it very well, was that by being in a committed relationship, I've learned how to respect her boundaries. I've learned through, my past behaviors, through my past mistakes, through everything that I've learned
Choices.
on how to be able to talk to her, how to be able to read her body signs, like how I just mentioned, how to be able to know what is acceptable to her. And not even just sexually, just, sometimes people don't want to be touched. When you're in a relationship living with somebody, sometimes they just want their own space. I've learned that types of stuff. Boundaries, exactly. And so that's what I was trying to articulate when I said that, was not how it came out. It came out very poor, but what I'm saying is that I learned how to respect in a relationship those type of boundaries, how to respect her as a person.
Because, what was happening in the relationship was very concerning to me. And it threw up a lot of red flags when I was reading, the account of the crime and what the victim shared with the police. She said that you were very controlling. You wouldn't allow her to hang out with her friends. You made her give you all her passwords to her social media accounts and her email so that you could be monitoring it. This all screamed to me low self-esteem. And so it was interesting to read in your participation in the problem sexual behavior treatment that you did recognize that as an internal risk factor. And I'm hopeful that, all this effort that you're putting into furthering your education, you're building up your own self-esteem so that you don't have to tear down your partner in an attempt to control them so you can feel better about yourself.
Absolutely. Before I even came in here, I've learned the best way to say it would be to accept how I was feeling. And I used drugs to try to do that, which got me in trouble with probation. But since being in here, I had mentioned at the beginning in my intro that when I came in here, I realized this wasn't a way to go through life. And for the first time in my life, I said, I need help. And actually meant it. Not said it because probation made me say it. Not say it because, it was the thing that I should do or somebody's idea of what I should do. I came in here and said that I needed help. I got on antidepressants. I also.
Well, I'm glad that, your private mental health situation should not be broadcast over the hearing as we live stream. But, I'm glad that you've come to some realizations because they were long overdue, sir, with 4 violations of the same period of probation and your deliberate acts to sabotage your own treatment, your own accountability to probation just was nonsense. You know,
I realized that I
the
had problems
efforts
with
and the
the-
energy that you put into not complying, if you had put into rehabilitating yourself, you'd have been done with this sentence a very long time ago. You know,
You said exactly what my father said to me.
what was the fake stuff that you were asking your then girlfriend to buy you in case probation showed up at your house again?
So again, I was taking drugs and I was scared to, now at this point I have, you know, a son on
Let's
the
cut
way.
to the chase. Was this Wizinator?
I'm sorry?
Was this Wizinator? What were you trying to get her to buy you?
I hadn't ever got it before, but there's stuff at like smoke shops that I had seen when I go in to buy cigarettes. And so whatever they had on the counter there, if that's the name brand, then yes, that's what I was.
To clean your urine or to give so that
Yeah.
you can, okay. All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And this girlfriend at the time, this is now the mother of your children?
Yes, she is, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. So, Mr. Frazier, give us a few minutes to talk about your case, sir, and we will give you our decision shortly, okay? Please don't interrupt. You're more than welcome to listen.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Frazier is here, 33 years old today. Number of violations relating back to a sexual assault second and criminal violation of restraining order. We also had violations of the sex offender registry. And, you know, it has a EOC alcohol drug score of 5 out of 5, the highest. Has completed the Tier 2 program and the sex offender program. While incarcerated, in addition to being involved in the fatherhood program, and the Yoke Prison Education Program and a culinary vocational program. So he's done some programming. He's not completed anger management voices that are still on his OAP, which he seemed to believe that he would benefit from. He rates out as moderate risk to recidivate. And, you know, he was on probation at the time of his arrest. He's had struggled with being under supervision offense. Gives me great concern. He's got 2 years left on this sentence. So I'm very concerned. I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
Well, Mr. Frazier appears to want more for himself and is beginning to engage in those efforts, both educationally and employment and also recovery. I'm glad that he's active in addressing his mental health needs. I am not supportive of his release to discretionary parole. I mean, he was making a complete joke out of his probation sentence, which was for an incredibly serious series of offenses involving a very young person who was repeatedly victimized. And I just, I'm not hearing the change across time to be consistent. So I'm going to vote to deny.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. So I went back in his file and I made sure that I noted each of his violations and how the courts really did try to work with him. And they give him a little bit of incarceration time to get clean, and then he'd go right back out and he would start using drugs again. And it's just this vicious cycle. And then it got to a point where he just absconded and didn't respond at all to the probation or the probation officer. He was discharged twice from treatment negatively. Both times he was out in the community. I show he was scheduled for 18. He had 7 excused absences. He was just really doing things that he should not have been doing when he was out in the community. And it was all because of his substance abuse. But in addition, okay, you know what you were supposed to change. I also hear his that he has a plan in place, hopefully, to be successful when he returns to the community. He continues to have love and support of his family. It sounds like he has employment ready for him, and he still has a girlfriend who's supportive and siblings. Sounds like he has a viable release plan. So because he already has so many things in place, he's almost done with the sex offender registry. He'll be done with his sentence in 2027, and his prior bouts with supervision in the community did not go well. I think that he should finish his sentence and go out to the community with his plan that he has in place without the overall resources or support that parole provides. So my vote too is to deny with no new hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I agree. It's all these violations in the sex offender registry, the treatment in the community. It's a lot.
It is. He was out the last time when he went out on probation. He was out for 121 days, and they violated him again. It's just.
So, and I mean, he still has some programs. He should try to finish anger management, try to get into voices. I see a note here that he's halfway house eligible for DOC in September. It's something else that he can pursue, and strengthen his release plan. But I agree with the both of you that for today, because of all the previous violations and everything, I am not. I currently has been on probation and age and circumstances. I don't know if you guys have anything different.
Well, I had poor performance on community
And that's
release because he doesn't have a new conviction. I have nature and circumstance as well.
Conviction for failure to appear.
Okay, well,
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's, there's plenty.
it reflects.
Sure. Yeah.
Failure. Better.
So, was there a third one that you wanted that we felt we should have? Nature, circumstances, and poor performance on community release?
Those are fine, actually.
Okay.
All right, so we're ready with our official decision with regard to Matthew Frazier, 396-326. I move to deny discretionary parole with no hearing date based on his poor performance under community supervision and also the nature and circumstance of his. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Frazier, you receive all of this in writing, sir. We couldn't support your parole, and we do wish you the best.
So there's no new chance for a hearing date?
Not from us, no.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Matthew Frazier. This concludes the hearing for MacDougall Walker.
I will.